I can only equate it to myself.
Puerto Rico, the rum capital of the world. And by freescore.com. Turn a credit score triple play at freescore.com. Free scores, one source, freescore.com. Plan your holiday party with Metropolitan Hospitality at Citi Field, New York's world-class event destination, featuring superb cuisine, five-star service, and state-of-the-art spaces. Book your holiday party now at metropolitanhospitality.com or get to the phone at 718-507-FOOD. Here's your Suzuki around the majors. Meaningless game. Kemp hits a grand slam. Dodgers beat the Rockies, who got eliminated last night. Rangers went on a wild pitch in there. Another meaningless game. Of interest, the Braves win 5-1. Derek Lowe gets another win, 5 2/3. He allowed just 1 run, and Brooks Conrad hit a 3-run homer as the Braves now have a 2-game lead over the Padres in the National League wildcard race. Mets and Brewers set to play the back end of a doubleheader. Dickey and Bush. First pitch coming up. Center fielder Carlos Gomez giving Lorenzo Cain a game off, and Alcides Escobar, the regular shortstop, is in there, and the left-hand batting catcher George Coteras gets the start in Game 2. Prince Fielder, 3 hits in the opener, including the game-winning RBI, as the Brewers scored 2 in the 8th to beat the Mets 8-7, and now R.A. Dickey will bid for a split of the doubleheader.
Well, you see those numbers have been outstanding all season long. You know, for starting pitchers, the numbers that are important, double figures first. You want to win 20 because that's the magical number. But 12 is a huge number, too, for a starting pitcher. And I'm sure that Dickey wants to reach it today. Alexis Mets defense, Duda again playing left field. What a nice game he had with a home run in the first game. Pagan and Evans gets the start in right field. Chris Carter had a tough go of it in the first game. Right, Arias gets the start at second. Davis at first base. And, of course, Josh Trolley, who catches the knuckleball better than any of the other catchers for the Mets, gets the job or assignment with R.A. Dickey.
Dickey making his final start of the season. And what a season it's been. It began in the minor leagues. He was one of the first cuts out of spring training this year, in a spring training where the Mets basically granted scholarships to some of their incumbent starting pitchers. That didn't work out with John Maine and Oliver Perez. That created an opportunity for R.A. Dickey, who kept himself about as ready as you could possibly be down in AAA, including that complete game one-hitter that he threw.
You know, it's interesting, Gary, when you say that, when you are looking at guys at AAA, you'll see they have numbers. There's guys down there 6-1, 5-1. You say, boy, they must be having a good year. When a guy does that kind of, has that kind of game, a one-hitter, that makes you think that he belongs up here.
Ricky Weeks will lead things off for the Brewers. Weeks had 3 hits in the opening game of the doubleheader today, and he's 3 for 8 in the series. hitting a .271 for the year. 28 homers, 82 RBIs, extraordinary numbers out of the leadoff spot for Weeks. Mets playing their third doubleheader of the season. They swept one and they split one in their first two. And now looking for a split today. And Dickey ready to get things started. And the first pitch of the nightcap is in for a call strike as he starts Weeks off with a fastball.
Well, I thought the Mets showed a lot coming back after Jonathan East put them in that hole, but the relievers could not hold the lead. I don't know about you, Gary, but Ricky Weeks looks legit. He's been one of those guys that's looked lost early in his career as Carlos Gomez waits on deck, but there's some purpose to his play now.
You know, it takes some guys longer than others, and I think there's an expectation these days that when guys come out of college that there's something close to finished products. That wasn't the case with Weeks. He was a tremendous athlete who had great college numbers, but it took him a while to figure it out at the big league level. He chases the knuckleball, and Dickey strikes out the first man to face him.
The late movement to this knuckleball starts right on the outside corner and takes a left turn. You don't see big league hitters take that kind of swing. You see it come out of R.A.'s hand with that flat, almost turns the ball over. Maybe 1, 2.5 revolutions is exactly what you need.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Carlos Gomez making his first start in this series. Got aboard as a pinch hitter in the 8th inning in game 1 and wound up scoring the tying run after a stolen base.
I think one of the things that people overlook, or baseball people can overlook sometimes, when Gomez got on first, so he tries to bunt.
Beautiful bunt, no chance for Tolle, and Gomez with his tremendous speed has himself a bunt single. He deadened that ball beautifully.
Anytime he gets it down the third base line, you can almost chalk up a base hit. Gets it off the end of the bat because the ball was moving away from him, deadened it like Gary said, and it just stops on the turf. No chance for Josh Tolle. I was just mentioning, I think one of the keys in the first game was to go righty-righty Acosta against a right-handed hitter. What happens, you take Feliciano out, it almost automatically allows Gomez to steal second base, which he did and advance to third on an error.
Now Ryan Braun, who went 1 for 5 in the opener today. After sitting out last night, he's at 306 for the year in the top 10 in batting, which you never would have figured a couple of months ago. But he's had a terrific last couple of months, and that was a close play as Gomez opted to go back in standing.
Yeah, he's going to have to watch himself and go back in with a little purpose. Almost picked off there.
Dickey comes off of losses last time out, but a game he pitched well in Philadelphia, got hurt by an unearned run. That's bounced foul by Braun, 0-1. Dickey faced the Brewers earlier this season. If you remember that game in Milwaukee, it was maybe his third start, and he wound up winning the game in a game where he threw probably more fastballs than he did in any other start.
A lot of fastballs, gave up a couple of home runs to Ricky Weeks. The second one, though, he threw a fastball in there when he was behind in the count. The Mets had such a big lead.
Oh, it's too bad Keith's not here to see this. Unless, of course, he arranged it.
Those are the guys that were here that one time where they hit a home run and one of them caught the baseball on a Keith mustache night.
Down to third with the runner going. So Wright's only play to first, and Gomez trying for third. Davis's throw, and he got him! Double play, side retired. Gomez trying to go first to third, making the third out at third base. 5-3-5 on the double play. Ike with a perfect throw. That pitcher's arm paid off. Mike Evans gets the second game start. So does Josh Tolley and Joaquin Arias. Everybody else playing both ends of the doubleheader. David Wright has homered in each of his last 3 games. He'll try to stay hot. Meanwhile, Reyes leads off against Dave Bush. Jose had 3 extra base hits in the opener today, 2 doubles and a triple.
Dave Bush, 7-13 this season, 55-68 in his career. 184th start, has pitched with both Milwaukee and began his career with Toronto.
Into center field, and Gomez is there, one away.
His Coors Light Brewers defense, Braun and left, misplayed a ball in left center in the first game. Gomez with all that great speed, Harden right. McGee, Escobar back in the second game, their everyday shortstop. Weeks in fielder, and George Gutaris doing the catching.
Here's Angel Pagan, 2 for 5 in the opener. It's already been a very long day for Angel. In the hospital this morning with his 2-year-old daughter who was having eye surgery. Didn't get to the ballpark till about 2:45 this afternoon. In time to play game 1. Had a couple of hits. And right back in the lineup for game 2. There is news on Carlos Beltran, and it's good news. Carlos had his MRI earlier today, and the MRI showed no new injury. As Pagan tries to drag a bunt, it's off Bush's glove, and Pagan safe at first. Bush nonchalanted that ball a little bit at the last moment, figured it was going to be an easy catch, and it went right off the end of his glove.
Well, he did not look it into the glove. See him? The ball gets past him just off the tip of his glove. He looked it in. It's just it was a little higher than his glove, tipped off, and by that time, with great speed of Pagan, no chance.
Give Angel credit for a base hit, but Bush certainly thought he should have caught it.
And Bush is a very excellent fielder.
Anyway, Beltran talked with reporters between games today, said he heard good news from the doctor. The bone bruise area looked even better than the last time, and that he just had some inflammation. So that's certainly good news for Carlos Beltran after feeling some discomfort in that right knee yesterday. Here's David Wright. Homered in each of the first 2 games of this series. Pagan takes off first pitch. Gutierrez's throw has no chance. It goes into center field, but Pagan didn't realize it for a moment, so he'll stay at second. And Pagan has his 37th stolen base.
Well, good job by David taking this pitch down. Good footwork by Gutierrez, but really didn't put a lot into that throw as it sailed into center field, and just a huge jump for Angel going on first pitch.
Well, Bush has allowed 22 stolen bases now this season, top 5 in the league. And when you give up as many base runners as Bush, you've got to be better at holding runners on base than he is. Curveball to right for a strike.
What's the footwork? The footwork's pretty good from George. Gets a great pitch to throw on, maybe a little down, but the little shuffle step and gets a position. But we've seen more put on a throw than George put there.
So a runner in scoring position for Wright, who reached 100 RBIs with his 2-run homer in the first game. It's the 5th time in David's career he's reached 100 RBIs, and nobody else in Mets history has had more than 300 RBI seasons. He's in second place all time behind Darryl Strawberry on the Mets RBI list.
David's going to hold all the numbers, all of them.
Gets this one to left center field. Chasing Gomez back in the gap, and he uses his speed to run it down for the second out.
Boy, that's almost a similar ball that happened in the first game that Braun couldn't play, and Gomez covered from Braun with his speed in center field.
So here's Ike Davis. Ike drew 3 more walks in the first game, and in fact took over the club lead in walks. He now has 2 more than David Wright. Has had himself a tremendous month of September,
which I think is one of the things you can hang your hat on when you're a young player and you have to play those extra games. That's amazing to watch. A little shift here in the infield for Ike, the shortstop up the middle. Second baseman really in his position. It's a shortstop that really is out of position.
And interesting then that they work him away with the breaking ball, because Davis certainly has the ability to take that pitch to left field.
You know, we talked about in the first game that Jonathan Neese seems to have hit the wall in September, and it's just the opposite of what has happened to Ike. Ike looked like he was going to have a tough August in September, but he's been able to revitalize his at-bats.
Really, July and August were not kind to Ike as the team faded after the All-Star break. He faded with them, but he has found a different gear here in September, and his pitch selection has been so much better.
Well, I think also he was in that fourth slot for such a long time. There are good hitters in front of him, good hitters behind him. And then once Carlos Beltran came back, he was pushed down the order, 6, 7, where people behind him, not as accomplished hitters.
2-0 to Ike. And the curveball fouled away. I think also, you know, sometimes players come to the major leagues and they enjoy some initial success, and then pitchers begin to adjust to them, and sometimes it can take them a while to figure out what's going on before they finally make that adjustment.
I think in Ike's case, he wasn't aware it was going on. I think he just thought it was a little bump in the road and that he was going to be able to continue what he'd always done. I think he ate a little humble pie, and that's why I think he's having such a good September.
So the Bush's struggle in the first inning. Most of those runs, in fact, half of them have come in 2 starts. He had an 8-run first and a 7-run first against him. Nonetheless, a 9 ERA in the first inning is not necessarily a good thing.
I tried it one year. It didn't work.
Two and 1 to Davis. And that's on the inside corner, 2-2. One more piece to the Carlos Beltran story. The doctors have recommended that even though the inflammation in his knee is mild, that he not play the rest of the season. We're only talking about 4 more days after today. So Carlos Beltran is done for the year. And Davis lofts one to center field. Gomez back, plenty of room out there, and he runs it down to end the inning. An infield hit and 1 left after 1 no score. To you by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea. The last doubleheader play between the Mets and Brewers was in 1999, and Robin Ventura in that doubleheader became the first player in Major League history to hit grand slams in both games of the doubleheader. Prince Fielder hits a comebacker. R.A. Dickey handles it. 1 pitch and 1 out of the second inning.
Well, not quite Fernando Tatis, but as good as you can get.
Well, Robin had also hit 2 home runs, 2 grand slams in 1 game when he was with the White Sox.
He was great with the bases loaded. You know, I only faced Robin when he was with the White Sox, and always just a tough out, especially with RBI situations.
I think he had 124 RBIs that year with the Mets in '99.
Very underrated player when you look at a lot of the players that have played here in New York for the Mets. You know, he doesn't always jump off your tongue as one of those main guys, but he was outstanding.
He was so low key.
Yeah. And for a ball player, there's two things. One, you want to have a great career, obviously. But second, to be called a great teammate is really important. He was one of those.
Yeah, and I think that that's one of the things that people overlook when they talk about the success that the Mets had in that window in 1999 and 2000. Swing and a miss, and McGee is down on strike. Second strikeout for Dickey, and there are 2 out.
We just assumed that Dickey is just going to go, at least through the first time through the order, with not a lot of trouble. Beautiful grip. Turns that hand over almost like a screwball with that release. And that ball is not tumbling a lot. And when it's not tumbling, hitters are going to have a hard time.
So 2 out and nobody on. Here's Corey Hart. Hart 3 for 9 in this series with a double and a home run. And he takes below the knees for ball 1. I was just saying that stretch in 99 and 2000, people look at Mike Piazza and they look at Bobby Valentine and they look at Al Leiter, and there are certain linchpins. I think they tend to overlook Ventura because his contribution to that team was so much greater than just what he did on the field, and that's just what you were talking about.
I think when you have a dynamic manager like Bobby Valentine was here, you have to make sure that you have some of the players who are very low key. Can't have everyone ready to jump off ship.
Ventura versus Darling. 6 for 17.
I told you, he was really tough out. He got me late, though. Might have had a little better time of it if I faced him in the 80s. Maybe not, though. He had that college record. Didn't he hit in 80-something games?
57.
57 games?
57 straight at Oklahoma State. R.A. Dickey from the University of Tennessee. 3-2 now to Corey Hart. And he struck him out. 3 strikeouts in the first 2 innings for R.A. Dickey. No score. NY this week, the Huskies look for their 3rd win as they finish their non-conference schedule against Vanderbilt at Rentschler Field. Vanderbilt UConn coverage begins with City pregame Saturday at 11:30 a.m. on SNY. Lucas Duda leads off the home second inning. Lucas hit a home run in the first game of the doubleheader. His 3rd.
A couple of hits, a couple of runs scored. Last 8 games, 4 multi-hit games. Dude has turned it around.
over 200 now after the 1-for-34 start. Gets jammed by Bush and fouls it off 0-2.
You know, I was telling you, Gary, that I was watching from the stands today, and when Duda hit his home run, sometimes it's hard to tell on TV. I was sitting down there, I go, boy, he got jammed on that pitch, because you could really hear the sound. And for him to be that strong, to hit it over the right field wall and get jammed a bit is pretty amazing.
Especially over that right field wall. Nick Evans on deck, and then Josh Tolley here in the bottom of the second. And due to crack the bat, so we'll go back for
Got that right off the end of the bat. When you have a bat that has the cuff at the top, it'll chip it away. That's what happened to Lucas there. So, fastball upstairs, trying to go in. Bush misses away and just gets it off the end of that bat.
Duda settles back in with a 1-2 count. And he rolls over one. Fielder makes the play to Bush for the first out. So Duda retired, and now Nick Evans. Evans 0 for 5 in this series. 34 at bats since being called up. And this may be as good a stretch as we've seen out of Nick Evans over his cups of coffee the last now 3 years.
Well, one of the things I've noticed is that he's become much better in the outfield. He's had a couple good catches, one particularly good one in the Philadelphia series.
Well, you know what the funny thing about that is, of course, he barely played in the outfield in the minor leagues this year. Mostly playing first base and some third base. But since he's come back to the big leagues, he's exclusively played in the outfield.
Yeah, there's no place for him to play in the infield.
Not at the corners.
Nope.
I mean, I don't think they're going to do what they've done with Daniel Murphy and try and turn him into a second baseman, do you?
No.
Escobar throws out Evans for the second out. It's going to be a very interesting thing next year going to spring training. And Ruben Tejada, out of the incumbent, coming back and showing some offensive flashes down the stretch of the season. And at the same time, there's Murphy, who's going to be coming back from a season on the sidelines, looking to shoehorn his way into a role on this team.
Yeah, that's just one of those things. I'm going to have to see it before I believe it kind of things. Well, optimist there. Very nice. Mets will rock in 2011.
Josh Tolley 1 for 5 in this series. He's slumped this September. And what looked like it might be a 300 year for Josh has gotten away from him. And he grounds one right to Weeks. And so 3 ground ball outs for Dave Bush in the second inning. We're through 2 innings in the nightcap. Mets and Brewers, no score. all the latest happenings in New York sports with insider info, exclusive interviews, special guests, heated debate, daily news live, wheelhouse, and loudmouths, all part of the New York sports. Local weekdays at 5 on SNY.
Interesting choice by Escobar there. I mean, it's difficult to drag a bunt, push a bunt, lay down a bunt for a hit. To do it against a knuckleball.
But he saw Carlos Gomez do it.
That's right.
He figured he'd follow suit. Escobar, who's been struggling so mightily at the plate that they sat him down for a few days. 0 for his last 20 after taking the collar in the first game of this series. Did not play the first game of the doubleheader. And he pokes one down the right field line. That's a fair ball. Settling into the corner and bouncing away from Evans, and Escobar with good speed will go on to third. So it's a triple for Alcides Escobar, and that snaps his 0 for 20, his 10th triple of the year.
Well, right field play has not been kind to the Mets in this doubleheader. Little ball outside part, just gets it off the end of the bat. Escobar kind of fitted it down that right field line, right on the line, and Nick tried to cut it off between the legs, and by that time Escobar easily had a triple. He's got great speed. How about Lorenzo Cain's speed? You were watching him in that first game. Wow.
Well, they've got some guys who can move on this team with Escobar and Cain and Gomez. There's George Gutierrez. The Mets bring the infield most of the way in with the number 8 hitter up, and he dribbles one. Dickey will go to first with it, and just in time as Davis stayed on the bag. Not sure if Dickey ever glanced at Escobar. It came about 30 feet down the line, but Tolley must have told him it was okay to throw.
He didn't glance at him, but great job by Josh Tolley saying place at first. He would have said home or first, and Ike Davis needed all of that 6'4", 6'5" frame. Escobar was going to go at the beginning, but now he's starting to feel that if Dickey makes a bad throw here, he'll try to proceed to the plate. That's one where he might have wanted to be aggressive only because the pitcher was up next.
A possible squeeze situation here for Bush with the infield in. Bush has 6 hits, 5 sacrifices this year. But, you know, as you were saying, it's hard to bunt a knuckleball. It's hard to put a lot of faith in a squeeze play with Dickey on the mound. That's a good look at it. Through the hole, and Bush has got a base hit to bring home the game's first run.
Boy, I don't know if that was a fastball there by R.A. Dickey. We'll have to see that pitch.
Dave Bush picks up just his 2nd run batted into the season.
No, it was the knuckleball. It just stayed flat. And you know, it's interesting for a pitcher. A knuckleball is about his hitting speed at the 82, 83 mile an hour play.
And you can see that that ball turned more than Dickey wants the knuckleball to turn. Ideally, you want about 1/4 of a rotation. That one had about 2.5 rotations.
And when it does that, it looks more like a hanging slider, the knuckleball.
So a run is in, 1 out and 1 on. Here's Ricky Weeks, who struck out his first time up. And he takes the knuckleball for ball 1 as Tolley battles it. Pitcher Bush running at first. Davis holding him on. And Weeks muscles one out to right center. Evans with lots of room. And there are 2 down. So Weeks is retired, and now Carlos Gomez will come to bat with 2 out. Gomez laid down a beautiful bunt single in the first inning and then made a rather, I don't know if you'd say boneheaded base running decision, but an ill-informed one. Trying to go first to third on a ground out and just not recognizing that Ike Davis has one of the best arms of any first baseman around.
There's a lot of first basemen you can go first to third on, but never off Ike. Former pitcher in college. He's got a cannon.
But is that something that a player like Gomez would be told from a scouting report beforehand, or something he'd have to know for himself?
He'd absolutely be told, but the problem with Carlos always has been the ability to retain it.
Line to center, and Pagano will have to play it on the hop, so Gomez is 2 for 2 as Bush pulls in at second base. 3 hits in the inning off Dickey. And Ryan Braun will come to bat with 2 men on.
Gary, I think what happens for players that have great arms in the outfield, They like to show it, even when they're not supposed to show it. Guys who can really run fast, they always want to show their speed, even when it's not the prudent thing to do. It happens all the time.
So now Braun looking for his first run batted in this series. Hit into that double play his first time up. 2 on and 2 out. The Brewers with a run home in the third. And the knuckleball misses away. Bush is at second and Gomez at first with 2 out. Bush might have to worry about getting lapped on a ball in the gap. 1-1 to Braun.
We always used to say that with a pitcher on first. When Reyes would hit those triples, you had to get on your horse. Going into this game, I thought Braun was going to be the toughest out for a Dickey because he has that kind of long uppercut swing. I shouldn't say uppercut. He's got a great swing, but he has the ability to wait probably longer than any of the other Milwaukee Brewer hitters.
So what's the solution to that? You got to jam him?
Well, I don't think he can because his assortment of pitches is the knuckleball, and he knows kind of where it's going, but not exactly where it's going. You know what's amazing about the defense when you have R.A. Dickey pitching is that he's the only pitcher on the Mets staff that he tells people where to play. He's the guy that dictates the defense, not the charts, because of the knuckleball and very deep in the outfield. And you expect that, of course, with Nick Evans and Lucas Duda in the outfield.
A guy like Braun at the plate who's got unlimited power. 2 on, 2 out, 2-2 to Braun. And a full count.
Nice play there by Josh Tolley. Ball in the dirt. Remember, with a knuckleball, you can't scoot over there and block it. That's not how you're taught. You have to pick it like a first baseman. And great job by Josh. Now, these outfielders, Duda and Evans, have to be very careful on a base hit on a 3-2 count and Gomez running. You have to be very quick to get that ball back in the infield. He'll try to score.
So the runners take off, and Braun lifts one to right field. Hit well. Evans going back and has room to make the grab to end the inning. Brewers get one on Bush's RBI single. When we come back, Kevin Burkhardt talks with Mets rookie right-hander Dylan G live when we Absolute Vodka. Enjoy the game with a cocktail perfected with Absolute Vodka, the ideal choice for the 7th inning stretch. Absolute Vodka, cocktails perfected. Enjoy with absolute responsibility. Joaquin Arias leads off the Mets at the bottom of the third, with the Mets down 1-0. Arias has had 19 at-bats as a Met, getting 274 overall this year and 117 at-bats. It'll be Arias, then R.A. Dickey, and Jose Reyes in the bottom of the third. Joaquin takes a strike. So you told me that you spent the first game,
Yes.
rotating around the ballpark to various locales. First time you've been able to do that?
First time I've been able to do it. Yeah, it was fantastic.
Corey Hart puts it away, and that's the first out. We'll talk more about that in a moment. First, Kevin Burkhardt standing by with Dylan G.
Now, Dylan, you'll make your final start of the year tomorrow. I mean, what's this whole experience been like for you to come up and make these 4 starts?
It's been great. You know, it's a dream come true. It's what you always dream about when you're a little kid, and to be able to come up here on this stage and do it, it's been great.
How have you felt? I mean, you're approaching 190 innings total. I mean, and that last year, of course, you were hurt a lot of the year, and that's more than you've ever been. But you've looked strong. How have you felt?
I felt good. I mean, it is coming to an inning total that I've never really been at before without a break. So I get a little tired, but physically I feel very strong still.
What did you expect when you came up here, as far as the differences in levels? What was your expectation about what would be the biggest difference, and what has been the biggest difference?
I really don't know. I mean, you always hear about the major leagues. You come up here, I always thought, you think you can't throw one ball over the plate or it's going to get out of the yard. Which it does sometimes, and it's happened to me a couple of times here. But for the most part, it's not a whole lot different. Just you got to be a lot more on point every day out, and you can't relax out there.
What's been the biggest improvement for you personally this year from last year? How have you gotten better as a pitcher?
I think I've just been thinking a little bit more this year, especially coming up here now. And the curveball's really come along this year. That's really helped me be able to throw for strikes. Just going back to my game plan is just throw strikes, locate the fastball and then work off that. And this year I've just been able to refine it a little bit more.
When you're a pitcher like yourself, when you have those other pitches, how important is it to make sure you still stay on top of your fastball and use that as much as you can?
That's actually very important. I mean, sometimes when you have 4 other pitches, you start thinking about throwing those a little bit too much, and you kind of lose the fastball and fastball command. You just got to work on it all week long and to stay on top of that fastball and get it going where you need to go, because without that, nothing else is going to work.
Dylan, what's your plans in the off season now?
Just rest, a little R&R. Go home and rest for about a month, and then kick it back up and come in the spring healthy and ready to go.
How different will that be from last year when you're trying to get healthy and get your shoulder all ready to go? How different will last year's off season be till this year's off season?
It'll be a lot different. Last year's my off season was planned for me. I mean, every day I knew what I was going to do. I had to go rehab every day. This year I'll be kind of lost the first month probably. I don't know what to do with myself. Probably play a lot of golf, but I'll get back in there and I'll kind of treat it like rehab. Every day I'll have a plan and I'll go in there and do my work.
When you go to spring training next year, how different will it be having major league experience, as opposed to going in and trying to open some eyes? Now you've already opened some eyes. What will the differences be, do you think, for you when you get to Port St. Lucie next year?
I think it would probably just be a little bit more, the comfort level is a little bit better, and I can relax a little bit more and not be such in awe this time. Go back and just know what I have to do and, try to throw up good innings and let them make the decision from there.
One final one. When you're out there tonight watching R.A. Dickey, who obviously throws nothing like you, what are you looking at? Can you just watch it and enjoy it, or what are you doing as a pitcher tonight?
Yeah, with Dickey, I can't really come in and try to pick the hitters away and pick them apart because he throws nothing but knuckleball. So the first game, I had to come in and try to watch Elmer, how he pitches these guys. He's kind of like me. But R.A., no, I just like to watch him throw. Can't really pick apart hitters when he's throwing.
Just to sit back and enjoy, right?
Yeah.
Well, Dylan, listen, it's been fun watching you. Good luck in your final start of the year tomorrow night, okay?
Thanks, Kevin.
Dylan G, guys, it's been great watching him so far. Well, he'll get one more tomorrow night. Let's go back up to you.
It's been fun watching G pitch, and we appreciate Dylan doing the interview with us. Thanks, Kevin. Hopefully the weather will cooperate tomorrow night. Dylan will be able to make that start against Milwaukee. Otherwise, he might have to adjust his sights to a different team. But I thought that what was very interesting listening to Dylan talk was to hear him say, when you come up to the big leagues, sometimes you think you can't throw anything over the plate that it's going to get hit out of the ballpark. And I think sometimes that really informs the performance of young pitchers when they arrive in the major league.
Well, it's only natural, though, Gary. It makes it tough. You know, the first start I had in the big leagues, first hitter, 35-year-old Joe Morgan. Second hitter, 35-year-old Pete Smith. Pete Rose. Third hitter, Mike Schmidt. I mean, you know, that's what happens. It's natural. What you have to get over is that your stuff is good enough to get those guys out. But it's only natural. You go home in September every year as a minor leaguer and watch the playoffs, and you watch these guys perform, and before you know it, you're facing them, trying to get them out in key situations. It takes a lot of inner confidence, and I think Dylan has shown that since has been up. He's been outstanding. And I think that the comfort level for him, I think, is great because he'll be around guys he knows. But I think what he should concentrate on when he goes to spring training, he's got a taste. He knows he has some talent here, and you never want to play in any league where you have to take buses anymore.
Yeah, nobody likes to go backwards. Lots of guys have to. You know, you get a taste of the big leagues, and you wind up back in the minors, and you appreciate where you're trying to get to even more. But there's nothing like the major leagues.
I spent every single start, 30 whatever starts, 33 I think I made my rookie year, trying to prove that they were never going to send me down. That's really what I did all my rookie season.
God just gets a piece to stay alive.
Because I had taken that 21-hour trip from Tidewater to West Virginia. I'd taken those buses from Arkansas to Midland, Texas. I didn't do very well. I didn't like playing spades for like 10 hours. It's not my favorite.
You and I were both very lucky. You spent, what, 2 years in the minors?
Yeah,
I spent 3. You get guys who spend 12, 15 years in the minors, you wonder how they do that. It's very difficult.
And I really have an affirmation for those guys that can stay down there for all that time. You know, the Nelson Figueroas.
And Jesus Feliciano.
Exactly. And who's the catcher? Lindsay that came up for the Dodgers that was in the minor leagues for 16 years.
John Lindsay.
Yeah. I mean, amazing stories.
Pagan hanging in at 1-2. And takes inside. Good turn at bat here for Pagan to keep himself alive. With Dickey at first and 2 out. The Mets down by a run in the third. I don't understand the concept of holding the pitcher on with a left-hand batter.
Yeah, it's silly. All right, Dickey's not going to go anywhere. Play behind him. Give yourself another extra bounce on a ball. Especially Bush does not have overpowering stuff. He likes to throw that curveball. That is going to be more apt to be pulled in the hole.
And a guy like Fielder who doesn't have great range, this gives him at least a little bit more of a chance on a hard hit ball. And the curveball misses outside, and so Pagan's worked his way all the way back to 3-2.
Well, now Fielder's going to play behind him, but you know, Gary, things happen in September. Not only with players not paying attention to detail, sometimes it even gets into the managers and coaches.
So Dickey gets set to run. 3-2 to Pagan. And Angel pulls the curveball, and wouldn't you know it, it goes right to Fielder. If he's holding the runner, that ball's probably in right field. So that retires the side. Here's your hard hit ball. Still 1-0 Milwaukee.
they're just jealous. The wooden figure. Get to Citi Field as the series with the Brewers concludes tomorrow night at 7:10 p.m. Tickets start at $15. Get your seats direct from the Mets at Mets.com.
Every now and again, our friend Mr. Yoshi from Daruma,
yes,
Great Neck, will have their sushi stand at the World's Fair in the right field corner. They send up some sushi, and for the doubleheader today, Mr. Yoshi was very nice to bring it up. So I got
So
caught.
were you mid crab roll?
I got caught having a crab roll. That's why
Very nice.
Ronnie read the promo.
They only knew what went on in this booth.
Prince Fielder leads off in the fourth inning and takes a strike. Fielder hit a comebacker his first time up. 3 for 10 in this series. It'll be Fielder, then McGee and Hart for the Brewers, who lead at 1-0. Bush, the pitcher, drove in the game's only run. And the Mets have the full shift on against Fielder this time up. They have not played that full shift, but with Dickey pitching, they do.
Well, everything is going to probably be pulled from Prince Fielder, although Arias is not as pulled as Tejada was. And maybe that's the result of the base hit that Fielder got in the first game that drove in the winning run.
Well, that base hit went right where Reyes is standing right now, to the right of second base. In that case, the Mets did not have the full shift on. Reyes was to the left of second, and that left that spot open.
Well, you can see right here that this is where where Tejada plays right there. Arias has moved over. This spot right here was free and empty, and that's why Fielder had that base hit up the middle on a simple ground ball.
2-2 from Dickey, and he struck him out. Ball goes to the backstop. Tolley retrieves, makes the toss, and Ike with a nifty footwork to retire Fielder. Strikeout, 2-3 put out, fourth strikeout for Dickey. Nice job by Tolley.
Well, this is going to happen sometimes when the knuckleball really takes a left turn. And Tolley with nice hustle and the accurate throw. And I don't know what Fielder's doing. He has a helmet on. Why is he trying to put his hands over his head? If the ball is going to hit him in the helmet, it's going to hit his hands now and break one of his fingers.
Not only does he have a helmet on, but he's well protected in other areas as well. Here's Casey McGee, who struck out his first time up.
Nice. Ari Dickey was able to get that fastball by McGee. He was ready for it, though. You know, it's just the surprise by Ari Dickey. He's just trying to get first pitch strike, hoping that they're waiting for the knuckleball, but Casey was ready.
And you could see the look of dismay on McGee's face as he was fouling that ball back. He realized this was my one chance. I got this mediocre 84-mile-an-hour fastball to hit, and I'm never going to get another crack at it. Although, as we mentioned, the Brewers were the one team that Dickey threw a lot of fastballs against in Milwaukee when he faced them back in May, because his knuckleball wasn't really doing much that day.
Was it closed at in Milwaukee that day?
Yeah,
I think it was. Maybe that was part of it.
Toward the hole, Reyes with a tough play on the backhand. The fadeaway throw, and it just got there in time on a couple of hops to Davis.
Well, I always think this is the toughest call for the umpire. Nice play by Reyes. Uses the turf to bounce it over there a couple of times, but you don't hear the ball in the glove, but it was there in time. Nice call at first base.
Tim Cheetah, the first base umpire, and he got it right.
Just in the webbing, and McGee on the base.
Rare two-hop throw for an out.
That was a throw that in the 70s you would see daily because of the carpet in the National League.
There's Corey Hart, who struck out his first time, and another one Tolley can't handle. It tells you that Dickey's got good movement on that knuckleball today.
I wonder what it's like for a catcher when he goes home after catching the knuckleball. Probably not a great night's sleep.
Another one in the hole. Another backhand play for Reyes. And this time with a faster runner. Hart beats it out.
Hart, for such a tall player, has great speed, and Reyes knew that and didn't get enough on the throw. Tried to gather himself, but that one hopper too late. Foot on the bag. Ike Davis still awaiting the throw.
Nice effort by Ike on that stretch. Stayed anchored at the bag, but to no avail. So that's the 5th hit off Dickey. 2 out and a runner at first, and now Alcides Escobar, who tripled and scored the only run of this game. Hit it down the right field line, just inside the chalk. To snap an 0 for 20 stretch.
I find it interesting that Escobar is up in this situation. Qatar is hitting behind him, who I think, right now is a more, even though he's only hitting a little bit above 200, Qatar to me is a more dangerous hitter.
Dickey unveiling the double nickel knuckleball, that last pitch. That super slow-mo one. He'll throw once or twice a game. Comes back with the conventional knuckleball. He's ahead on Escobar, 1-2. Alcides Escobar, just 21 years old, considered the top prospect of the Brewers organization coming into this year. A defensive whiz who has probably tried a little too hard to hit home runs this season. Something they're trying to break into the habit of. The runner goes, but a comebacker for Dickey, who's handled more chances flawlessly than any pitcher in the league this year. And he throws out Escobar to end the inning. Still 1-0 to 1.
On before the storm. The storm is coming tonight, but right now, gorgeous night as the Mets trail the Brewers 1-0 in the 4th. And now it's time for our favorite segment, our live Verizon Ask the Booth. We take a fan out of the stands, gets to ask the announcers a question. So we've picked up Adam from St. John's University. Ad, what do you have for the guys tonight?
My question is, what will happen for the Mets next? A no-hitter, a grand slam, or a triple play? Thanks.
Or D, neither.
Well,
guys,
they've already had a triple play this year.
Yes, they have had a triple play. But from this point forward,
White drives one to left, and Braun grabs it.
from this point forward, the way the season has gone, you have a better chance at a triple play or a no-hitter than you do the grand slam maybe this year. Listen, and Gary is of this school because he's been a fan his entire life. You feel they're cursed. The no-hitter is never going to happen.
Have a no-hitter.
Never have a no-hitter.
Never have a no-hitter. Now, if they do, look out, they're going to be first one to yell and scream. But I just, how many years it's been? It's the 49th year of the franchise. They've had some of the best pitchers of the last half-century pitch for this team, and it still hasn't happened.
Well, let's make a little prediction then for Adam. We'll say that the Grand Slam is going to happen first, and that'll be tonight.
I think the Grand Slam will happen first, and I would say it will happen opening day next year.
Okay.
because that'll have a lot more import
That's
than
right.
it happening tonight or over the weekend.
Well-behaved fans behind Kevin and Adam there, right?
I think they've been here a long time today. They might be a little tired.
They just chilled out.
You know, they're out there near the Verizon booth, which means they're only a short walk from Shake Shack and Box Freeds and, you know, Blue Smoke and all those places. Now, we were interrupted before when I started to ask you about your trip around the ballpark today. What did you find?
Well, what happened first is that I went in because I wanted to make sure the first 3 or 4 innings that I paid attention to what was going on in the game and charted the game. But the SNY suite where I started got very filled. So I felt like I should leave there because there was a lot of people in there, and I didn't feel welcome. So I left the SNY suite. And I went to 6 different places around the ballpark, and I had a blast. And, you know, I can kind of, when I played, my nickname was the Breeze. I can kind of breeze in and breeze out of places. Don't need security. Just quickly do it and get out of there. And I was in the Pepsi porch. I was just below the Pepsi porch. I was in straightaway center field, upper tank, left field where the home runs go. It was this is such a beautiful park. It's the first time that I've been able to do it since the park was built.
Ike draws another walk after walking 3 times in the first game of the doubleheader, the second given up by Bush. Now, did you have a lot of company in the places you were? Or I know it was a pretty sparse crowd the first game. Makeup games generally are, but were there a lot of people around where you were?
No, I picked spots where, you know, that I could kind of go down and people were interested, talking to each other. Just kind of sneak down in front of them, sit in the front row so there's no one in front of me and just them behind me. So I was able to sit and do my chart and all that, and they would only kind of know who I was when I would turn to leave the place. But it was just, it was fantastic. Sat with some Met fans, and they were telling me all the things that the Mets have to do to get the team to be better next year. And it was just so interesting.
I mean, Met fans with strong opinions?
Yes, but strong opinions.
Really hard to believe.
Yes. I just nodded my head. Yes, you're right. Exactly. I would do that too.
Now, did you have a favorite spot of all the places that you sat?
Yeah, my favorite spot, to tell you the truth, was right over the Modell sign in right field. I was right over the D there, and I sat there, and there was a nice father and son, and I was kind of watching them out of the corner of my eye, and the father was teaching the son how to score.
Wow.
So I was just watching him, and he was, you know, saying in his ear, this is what you do, F9, this or that or whatever. And then when I was about to leave, the father came over to the son and very shyly said, would you mind if we took a picture? We took the picture, and I was saying, what a class act. You know, they waited till I got up, and then they asked. It was very nice watching the father and son interaction.
Doing one to Lucas student. Now, did you partake of any of the fare?
I did. I had my first vanilla shake from Shake Shack. Phenomenal. Phenomenal. I wish I hadn't had it, by the way.
Because now
You want another one?
There's a reason people stand online.
That's right, I guess. It's just for my first time getting around the ballpark now, I saw the ballpark being built. When no one's here, I walk around. But it was my first time to really sit in the seats and look around, and so many televisions and screens, and you don't miss a second of the action because I was taking score, and I would walk from seat to seat, and I wouldn't miss any of the action. And by the way, you and Keith are resounding everywhere.
That's a problem.
You can hear your voice everywhere describing the action.
Duty inside outs, one to left field, and brought over to the line for the second out. Davis back at first.
You've sat in the ballpark, haven't you, and watched the game as a fan?
Yeah, I only got to do it once last year. Unfortunately, it was the game David Wright got hit in the head.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I was sitting down behind the tarp behind third base. But I've not gotten to sit in the seats in the outfield, and I really like to do that. I'm hoping that one of these years we'll get to do a game from.
Yeah, that would be great.
Maybe out in the Pepsi porch.
When we did it from the upper tank where you used to sit, not where you used to sit, we sat below where you used to sit. That was one of the great joys. Fun broadcast.
Straightaway center off the bat of Evans. Hit it hard, but right to Gomez, and that retires the side. 4 in the books in game 2, 1-0. SNY are available in HD, presented by IOTV. And if you're not near a TV, listen to every Mets game on Sports Radio 66 WFAN. Only 4 games to go after today. The finale with the Brewers tomorrow night, with Dylan G on the mound. And the Nats are in over the weekend. And then that's it until 2011. George Gutierrez leads off and takes the knuckleball high from R.A. Dickey.
I'll see you down in Port St. Lucie, Garrett.
Be long.
Isn't it amazing that we'll spend every day for 6 months, and then I'll see you in March?
Well, we can get together before that.
We definitely can, but it's just.
Gutierrez pops one up, and Joaquin Arias settling under it. Thrown away. It just struck me what you said last inning, and it totally just zipped right by my ear without me even noticing. You mentioned that you moved around the ballpark without security.
Yes,
clearly a reference to our friend who, who got the the full security treatment when he ran around the ballpark last week.
He's Keith Hernandez. I don't have a mustache. Dale, I don't have a mustache. That's right. But he's just it's a whole different thing when Keith starts going. People just flock to him like the Pied Piper. I think it's different. I can just kind of move around, and by the time I'm by them, they're like, "Hey,
didn't you used to be?
Didn't they? Isn't that the guy from Shallow Hal?"
I just saw that movie last week again.
It's still funny.
You're very young in that movie.
I know. Jeez, I'm aging.
There's the slow one, and Bush hits it out to shortstop. What was that? 54 miles an hour. And Bush, who has the only RBI in this game, is retired on the ground ball. Let's check out the inside pitch on R.A. Dickey, brought to you by the Xerox Business of Baseball. Xerox, ready for real business.
Well, I have to tell you, we do this inside pitch all the time, and I forgot to inform the truck that it's on Dave Bush. This is what the original inside pitch was, but they've made up their own on R.A. Dickey. You've got the hard knuckleball that we see at 83 miles an hour. The fantastic control for a pitcher that throws the knuckleball. An outstanding fielder. Gary, you mentioned it before. With his chances today, he has not made an error maybe in 57 chances?
He has 3 today, okay. So that actually makes 60 chances this year without an error, and that's the most of any pitcher in the majors who has not made an error. Now, part of that is that he gets, a lot of weak swings because of the knuckleball that result in comebackers, but the other is that he handles them so well. In fact, if Dickey avoids an error tonight and goes the season without one, he'll set a Mets club record for most total chances by a Mets pitcher without an error. That mark is not held by you, which I thought it would have been, but by Tom Glavine, who had 55 chances without an error in 2005.
Yeah, no, I was always good for 2 or 3 errors a year. One, for trying to do too much, and two, on trying to pick people off.
See, now you just confirmed Keith's theory.
What?
Because Keith said, was it tonight or was it last night?
No.
He said his father always told him never look at errors because the people with the most errors are the better fielders because they take more chances.
Well, I'm honestly not trying to say that. I'm just trying to say that I would, the bunt down the third base line, I would try to make a miraculous play, overthrow Keith, ball goes in right field, he gets the hit and an error. I would get 1 or 2 of those a year, and on a pick off the second base, whether it was Kevin Elster at the end, we became very good at it. I would always throw one of those into center field this season. So.
Weeks hits one over the mound. Reyes charging and makes the accurate throw on the run. That's a beauty by Reyes to gun down the speedy Weeks and end the inning. 1-2-3 inning for R.A. Dickey. We're halfway through in Game 2 with the Brewers up 1-0. Before the storm, a beautiful night tonight in New York. It's been great weather for this doubleheader.
See that lighted area, Gary? That's where you can hit golf balls at Chelsea Piers. Work on your golf game.
Do you know how long has Chelsea Piers been up? 25 years? Never been there.
Really?
Never. Except I've never lived in Manhattan the entire time that it's been there.
That's right.
I was in Brooklyn and then moved out of town since coming back to New York 20-some years ago. 1-1 to Josh Tolley, who grounded out his first time up.
It's a pretty amazing place, from basketball courts to skate parks to. My kids were little, they loved Chelsea Piers.
Got a hockey rink in there.
Yep.
Escobar throws out Tolley for the first out. Hey, look, it's the Acela fifth inning recap, our second of the day. All right, Dickey has been terrific, but Dave Bush has been even better. Bush has driven the only run of the game, and he's allowed just 1 hit. And that was a bunt single by Angel Pagan that actually went off Bush's glove. That's how close he is to having not allowed a hit. Now he takes on Joaquin Arias, who flied to right his first time up. Dave Bush is not a guy you normally associate with low-hit games. Arias breaks his bat and hits it out to left. And over goes Braun to grab it. And quickly, there are 2 out. Dave Bush has been a serviceable pitcher for a long time.
He's given up now in 172 in the third innings. Sorry, 2/3 innings. 196 hits.
He came in with a batting average against him of 290. He started out, went to Wake Forest after growing up in the Philadelphia area, and he was a catcher at Wake Forest before they turned him into a pitcher. Actually was a closer for the Demon Deacons, and it's only as a professional that he became a starting pitcher. Dickey walked his first time, and now he dumps one into shallow right. Hart's going to go for the 9-3, but he throws it away, and Dickey is safe. Now, a fielder wants the ball. He thinks that Dickey took a turn, and let's see what the first base umpire says. The tag is made, and he's safe.
Well, Prince didn't know. He had his back to him, and they both collided a little bit, and Prince didn't know if R.A. Dickey had touched first base. Well, this is R.A. Dickey, that little chop stroke that he uses very effectively. And I think Hart would have had a play, but Prince Fielder went back to the base too late, and the inaccurate throw.
Let's see if he made a turn towards second. He got the base, and did he turn? He turned his body, but he didn't really take a step towards second. I mean, it's really a judgment call on the umpire's part.
You really have to make a move like you're going to try to take second and then change your mind.
Once you make that turn, if you do, you are liable to be tagged out. You're allowed to overrun first base, but only in a straight line.
Well, I'm glad the collision with R.A. Dickey and Prince Fielder was just slight. R.A. loses that one every time.
It's like getting a wall. Slow curveball misses, and it's 1-1. Reyes is lined to center and popped to second, 0 for 2. After 3 extra base hits in the first game of the doubleheader. Overlooked in R.A. Dickey's years the kind of offensive numbers that he's putting up.
It's his 11th hit, isn't it?
13.
13 hits.
13 for 51. That's a hitter's average, 255. Another improbable piece of the R.A. Dickey story. The guy who spent his whole career in the American League before this year. Reyes lines one to right field. That's a base hit. Dickey is going to stop at second base. And so the Mets with back-to-back 2-out hits.
Well, trying to come up and in. And he threw the pitch where the glove was, but quick enough was Reyes inside to pull that ball down the right field line. Nice hustle by Hart to get to that ball and get it back in. Keep Dickey at second base.
So 2 out and 2 on. And now Angel Pagan with an opportunity. Angel had that bunt single and stole a base in the first inning and then hit a bullet that Prince Fielder caught in the third. Dickey at second and Reyes at first with 2 down. So Pagan 3 for 7 in the doubleheader. And Escobar right near the bag makes the unassisted play to end the inning. So the Mets have turned aside after 2 hits, still down 1-0 after 5. largest online selection of authentic team gear, including official caps, t-shirts, jerseys, collectibles, and more. Get your team gear straight from the source. Shop the Mets.com shop. Here's your AT&T trivia question for Game 2. The first game we asked you who had the most homers and RBIs for the Mets in the 70s. Today we'll ask you who had the most homers and RBIs in the 90s. Also known as Ronnie's lost decade.
Oh, that was lost, man. Well, you know what happens, and I was explaining this to Gary, it's just when you stop playing, everyone stops playing for almost the same reason. You stink. You're not good anymore. So when you're rejected by the game you love, you don't want to watch it anymore. You know what? You reject me, I'm not watching the games. And then you realize you start taking a peek every once in a while, and then watch a postseason game, and then you get excited, and the next thing you know, they got you back in. There's a defense for you, playing a little shaded to right field of the center fielder, Angel Pagan.
Gomez hits one foul off the right side. Jesus Feliciano's coming to the game. And he's playing right field now. Nick Evans had been playing in right. Interesting move if it's strictly for defense, because the Mets are behind in the game. So I wonder whether there's something that has befallen Nick. Gomez trying to bunt his way on, lays down a beauty, and Dickey has no shot at it. And Gomez is 3 for 3, his second bunt hit of the game. Talk about using your speed to good effect. Let's check in with Chris Carlin. He's got a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. Win number 88 for the Texas Rangers, who have already clinched the American League West. So R.A. Dickey has to contend with a leadoff base runner for only the second time in 6 innings, and it's the speedy Gomez, who has 17 steals in 19 tries.
I think for his size, Gomez is maybe 6'1", 6'2", 195 pounds, maybe 200 pounds. It's the fastest guy in baseball for that size. We saw Lorenzo Cain in the first game. He's got great speed also, but not the same body type as Carlos Gomez.
Carl Crawford.
Yeah, okay.
Not the same size?
Yeah, same size. I'll give it to Crawford over Gomez.
Well, Gomez might give him a pretty good race, just in terms of straight ahead speed. The problem with Gomez, it's hard to keep going in one direction. Carl Crawford is going to make a lot of money as a free agent this winter. And Gomez nearly gets himself picked off. A couple of times in the first inning that Dickey almost got him. Including once when he went back standing up.
He's got a great pickoff move, R.A. Dickey. Very quick. He was leaning the wrong way. Boy, that was awfully close. Gomez has got to dive to the back of that bag. Dove to the middle of that bag.
Pitch out, but he's not going anywhere.
See, middle of the bag here. You see the tag by Davis just a bit late.
And Gomez is picked off. Arias running him back. And now it's Dickey's turn, and finally Reyes, the fastest guy other than Gomez in that rundown, puts on the tag. Your basic 1-3-4-1-6.
This has been the problem with Gomez. He's got all the skills in the world. Baseball skills, not so much. Nice veteran move there by R.A. Dickey. That front knee, he kind of wavered it just enough, held the ball long enough to get Gomez. And Reyes, once he gets the ball, Gomez is done.
Not exactly your ideal rundown, but it resulted in an out.
You know, a lot of times, you always want it to be one throw and out. But with a guy like Gomez and that kind of speed, when you have the baseball, you start to get a little fearful and you want to get rid of that hot potato.
There's a panic that sets
Absolutely.
in. Plus, the Mets had a run down in the first inning where they in the first game when they almost wound up with a base uncovered. And David Wright had to come in and make a tag at second base. 2-1 to Ryan Braun, who's 0 for 2 in this game. And he gets plunked. 86 miles an hour. That might be the hardest fastball Dickey's thrown all year. And he hits Ryan Braun with it.
Well, no intent, of course, Ari Dickey. Anytime he is throwing the fastball, he is trying to get a strike with it, get ahead of the hitter. And when you throw knuckleball after knuckleball, you lose your feel sometimes for throwing that heater. Runs up and in, right into the back of Braun.
Sure, Braun's thinking if Dickey's going to hit me, I'd much rather get hit with the knuckleball.
That's right.
Jeez. Fourth batter that Dickey's hit this year, so now 1 out and 1 on for Fielder. And he takes ball 1. Fielder's hit a comebacker and struck out 0 for 2 against Dickey. The Brewers with a run on 6 hits. The Mets no runs and 3 hits. We're in the 6th. After the Brewers won the opener 8-7. 2-1 to Fielder. Keith and I were having this conversation in the first game. Prince Fielder very well might be in the trade market this winter. Adam Dunn is a free agent. Who'd you rather have?
Wow.
Not necessarily from a Mets perspective, but
no,
if you're
not a Mets perspective.
If you're a team in the market for a slugging first baseman, which player would you rather have?
I think in some ways, Adam Dunn. If you think about both those players being an offensive player, Adam Dunn is the more reliable of both, because you know what you're going to get. You're going to get 40. You're going to get 100. You're going to 100 RBIs. You're going to get 100 walks. The problem with Adam is that he really struggles at the first base position. Struggles at any position. As Lenny Dykstra used to say, he's addicted. He's immune to the leather. It's not his favorite.
Well, the other piece of that, though, the other side of it is that while Fielder has had a rough RBI year this year, usually he's good for 100 RBIs, and Dunn isn't necessarily. And Fielder this year leads the league in walks.
Yeah, and Prince is much younger also, which is a big factor.
A little flare. Reyes plays it on the short hop and gets the out at second and the out at first. Braun had to freeze to see whether Reyes would catch it in the air, and it winds up as a 6-6-3 double play to end the inning. Nicely done by Reyes to get Dickey through the top of the 6th, still 1-0.
It's trailing the Brewers 1-0. Jose Reyes turning the trick on that double play to end the top of the 6th. And I talked to Reyes today about his contract situation. And what it is for Reyes is it's a Mets club option, straight option for him next year. They could pick it up. It's about $11 million. And here's a shot that I can't totally see. It's caught in front of the wall. My view is a little cut off there by the bullpen. One away. Anyway, and I talked to Jose and said, look, this is a place that I want to be. This is a place that gave me the first opportunity in Major League Baseball. But at the same time, it's a business, and I don't know what's going to happen next year. So, clearly Jose has said it before that he wants to be here, but today almost expressing a little bit of uncertainty. And while the team has the option to pick up, and you think they would, there's also been rumor of maybe talk of a longer-term extension, but there's been no discussions between either side of that. And quite honestly, Gary, I can't see how there can be any discussion about that until the Mets figure out what they're doing with their whole situation with, from top down, really. So I think that's a little while away.
Well, I think that here's what I think, and I don't know if Ronnie agrees, is Davis smokes one to second and Weeks throws him out, is that this winter, maybe for the first time in a long time, everything is on the table with this franchise.
Totally agree.
Clearly, the first decision that needs to be made is about whether they'll make structural changes. Then they have to make decisions about what the front office and managerial seat's going to look like. Then they can start talking about player moves. But once they get to that point, again, depending on who's making those calls, you have to think that off what's happened the last 4 years here, that everything, including the names Reyes and Wright, all those things are on the table.
Well, the mathematical equations, F is the given. There's no given here for this winter.
Now, will the Mets pick up Reyes' option? Undoubtedly, they're not going to let him walk away. They'll either pick up the option or try and work out a long-term deal with him, or pick up the option and look, see what he's worth on the open market. And I think all those things are possibilities.
And I think Jose really answered that beautifully and diplomatically. But one thing I learned when I was playing, one of the greatest answers you can have when you're asked about your contract is just say, that's why I have a lawyer or an agent. The only reason I say that is because when you talk about the kind of dollars you're talking about now, I don't think any fan begrudges you making what you make, but they don't really want to hear a lot about it. You know what I mean?
They don't want to hear how you're being disrespected making X number of $1 billion.
Exactly. So that's always a good sign for players. Just that's why I have an agent.
And you know who used that line just yesterday was Adam Dunn, talking about his pending free agency. The Nationals fans have been very vocal about the Nats re-signing him, and he said, I'm tired of talking about it, and frankly, it's not for me to talk about. That's what my agent does. I just come to play. And that's exactly the best answer he can give. 2-2 to Duda, who's 0 for 2 in this game.
Guys, we touched on this earlier in the game with Dylan G about his offseason. Last year a little different. He was kind of recovering from the shoulder injury, and this offseason should be a little different workload. And for Reyes, it'll be too. Last year was all about getting better from the hamstring injury, and really all about hamstring, legs. And he said, it'll be nice to actually have a different workout. And obviously, I'm going to have to work on the oblique section as Duda goes down here.
So Dave Bush picks up his first strikeout of the night, and the Mets have been blanked through 6 by the journeyman right-hander. 1-0 Brewers.
1-0. Will face Casey McGee leading off in the 7th. Dickey's thrown just 72 pitches over 6 innings. He's due up 4th when the Mets come to bat in the bottom of the 7th. So this could be his last go-round. McGee is 0 for 2. Reyes made a tremendous play in the hole to throw him out his last time up. And McGee takes the knuckleball high for ball 1. The only run of this game coming in the 3rd inning. Alcides Escobar led off the inning with a triple, and then the pitcher Dave Bush with the infield drawn in, single to right to drive in the game's only run. Fastball from Dickey, 1-1. It'll be McGee, then Corey Hart, and then Escobar here in the 7th. Brewers with 6 hits. Out to center field, chasing Pagan back, and Angel equal to it, 1 away. Let's answer our AT&T trivia question. Most home runs and RBIs for the Mets in the 90s. I bet it was Bobby Bonilla.
Bobby Bonilla. Alfonso? Hundley.
Todd Hundley.
I didn't know Hundley played that long. That's right, he did.
He was a backup player when he first came up and had fits and starts. But let's see, Hundley had 124 home runs in the 90s. Bonilla had 95. So there you go. And Hundley 397 RBIs. Edgardo Alfonso was actually 2nd and Bonilla 3rd. Wright throws out Hart for the 2nd out.
Getting a little better, Gary. They made it to 2nd place this time. That's not bad.
Every once in a while. I got the one in the first game.
What was the first one?
Homers and RBIs in the 70s.
Wow. Who's that?
It was John Milner.
It's a tough one. I was going to say Rusty, but he wasn't there long enough.
That's the problem with those decade questions. It was who was around the longest. Here's Escobar, who tripled and scored the only run of this game. And he takes ball 1. Be a little easier if you ask the question about the 80s. That's kind of a no-brainer. Because, you know, other than what was Strauss last year, 1990 with the Mets. So other than that, his entire career was in the 80s with the Mets. The 54-mile-an-hour knuckleball is fouled off.
He's consistent with that speed.
The third one he's thrown tonight. I think that's the most of that ilk that he's thrown in the game.
Well, after getting his 100th RBI in the first game, David Wright will be the answer to that trivia question at some point, right?
Out to right center. And over comes Feliciano to grab it. So Dickey throws a 1-2-3 top of the 7th. 7th inning stretch, 1-0 Brewers. Is just a click away on SNY.TV with special features, scouting reports, and exclusive interviews on The Baseball Show. Presented by Harrah's every afternoon only on SNY.TV, your online home of all things New York sports.
Now that's click to turn on.
Jesus Feliciano is in the game because Nick Evans hurt his left shoulder in the course of this game. We'll try and get more details later. But Nick had to leave the game because his shoulder was barking, and so Feliciano gets his first at bat. And bluffs him up, takes the curveball from Dave Bush for a strike. Feliciano came off the bench in game 1 and sparked a 5-run rally in the 4th with a bloop single. Went 1 for 3. Quite a year for Feliciano, the 31-year-old rookie who had a bang-up year in AAA and has been a contributor at the major league level.
Did he have enough at bats in AAA to get that title? No. What was he batting? About 350 when he left there? I'm going to find that out.
I mean, who wants to have enough at bats to qualify for the AAA batting title?
Absolutely. I know. Someone told me my first year in AAA, said, you know, you're third in ERA. Get the ERA title. I said, I just want to get out of here. I don't want to be here.
I remember when
you can have it.
When I was broadcasting games in Pawtucket, Brady Anderson joined us midway through the season.
That's right. I forgot
and he got his first AAA RBI. And I went to the next day. I said, did you save the ball? He goes, no. I'll save my first one in the big leagues. I thought it was a little arrogant at the time, but he turned out to be a pretty good player.
Yeah, he did.
When you're in AAA as an observer, as I was, you can usually tell the guys who are going to be destined to do something in the big leagues.
Yeah,
the guys who aren't.
Well, I think what happens is such a mixture in AAA. You've got a lot of older players that are just trying to hang on and get a shot. Ray Dickey. You have a lot of young players that are not ready, so you're just trying to evaluate, you know, how better are they going to get. They're only 20 years old or 21.
Feliciano works out the leadoff walk.
And then you have guys that walk the walk. You can just tell by the way they play the game that they're not going to be there long.
Here's what they all have in common. None of them want to be there. And that's what makes managing a AAA maybe the hardest job in all of professional baseball.
Well, the other thing is as a player, when you come out of a high school or a college system, it's always team, win, team. You get there, and the guys are, listen, we want to win, but I got to have mine, which means mine. I got to have my base hits. I got to get people out.
Ken Mock is out to make a double switch. He's got Mike McClendon up in the bullpen, a right-hander. You got the left-hand batting Josh Tolley due to come up. And looks like Craig Counsell's coming in the game. Counsell will come in at shortstop. And Dave Bush, working on a shutout, will leave after 6 innings plus.
You didn't know he only has a 2-hour window to pitch.
Call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon Wireless.
It's 7th as Escobar comes out, so the Brewers weaken themselves defensively with a 1-0 lead. Tying run at first and nobody out. Josh Tolley up for the 3rd time. Tolley is grounded to second, grounded to short, 0 for 2, 1 for 7 in this series. So Dave Bush out after 6 innings plus, 85 pitches. 3 hits, 3 walks, 1 strikeout, and no runs.
Yeah, I don't get the move. Now, the only way that, and we don't know anything about this, maybe he felt in between innings that he felt injured, or, you know, the walk to Feliciano, but
Ronnie, it's his last start of the year.
Exactly. I don't get it.
Feliciano runs and Tolley fouls it off. Jerry's played hit and run a few times with Tolley over the last week or so.
I like that. Josh has good back control, as good as any on the Mets team. Sometimes I watch these pitching changes and the world seems upside down, but everyone seems to have an explanation for it after the game.
Two and 1 to Josh. With Joaquin Arias waiting on deck. That's at 7 runs and 13 hits in the opening game of this doubleheader. No runs and 3 hits in game 2. Tolley hits one out to center field, hit well. Gomez going back, and he's got room to make the grab. Tagging it first, Feliciano, and he's going to take the base and slides in safely ahead of the tag by Weeks. Feliciano hit that tag hard.
Fastball down. Nice swing by Josh. Big ballpark, though, and great speed by Gomez. Tried to get behind that baseball, but see that little delay? He did everything right except look to see if the runner was running before he threw. If he had just gathered himself and threw right away, might have had a shot. Nice job by Feliciano taking the extra base.
Jesus Feliciano, safe at second, safe and secure. New York Life. So the tying run at second with 1 out. Here's Joaquin Arias. Fly to right, fly to left. 0 for 2. And takes the breaking ball away from McClendon. Well, the Mets are down 1-0 in the 7th, but R.A. Dickey has come out on deck to hit for himself. Whether he bats might depend what happens with Arias. Although, with Dickey hitting 255, maybe he's the best option.
Well, what if Arias gets a walk? Would you leave Dickey in there to bunt them to second and third?
I might leave him in to swing.
Yeah.
Well, Pedro Feliciano got to 90 appearances in game 1 today. Became only the 5th pitcher in Major League history to pitch in 90 games in a season.
What's the record? 104, 105?
106. 106. Nobody else has ever had more than 94. So he's in a class by himself. Marshall. Arias takes a strike, and it's 2-2. Mike Marshall, Kent DeColvey, Solomon Torres, and Wayne Granger. And Pedro Feliciano, the only 5 pitchers in Major League history who've ever been in 90 games in a season.
Nice play.
Grab.
Old infielder. Flashback.
Well, Razor mishandled one in the first game, so this gets the coaching staff even on the night.
I thought you said Chip Hill said to play it on the backhand. He
but
plays
that's only with the big glove.
Oh, okay.
Very nice. Arias punches one out into right field, and Hart is there to grab it. That's the second out, and Feliciano holds at second. And now Dickey's being called back. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by BJ's Wholesale. Join Isanori Takahashi this Friday at the Flushing BJ's, located at 131-07 40th Road from 1 to 2 p.m. for a meet and greet and a chance to win Mets tickets courtesy of BJ's, Tide, and Downing. By Lexus.
And by Raymore and Flanagan, furnishing your style. Chris Carter has come out to be a pinch hitter. Rick Peterson runs to the mound to talk to Mike McClendon, who's retired the 2 batters to face him. Dickey is done in his final outing of the year.
Tremendous effort again by R.E. Dickey, who's been now over the course of the season, I think the Mets' most consistent starter.
Well, he goes 7 innings tonight. He allows 1 run and 6 hits. Didn't walk a batter. So he wound up walking 41 batters in 173 innings this year. Just a phenomenal mark for any pitcher, much less a knuckleball pitcher.
And 103 strikeouts, a better than 2-to-1 ratio in strikeouts to walks for a knuckleballer. That's outstanding.
He'll finish the season with an earned run average of 2.86, which will leave him in the top 10 in the National League in ERA. It's a phenomenal year for Dickey. Now the only chance he has to get his 12th win is if the Mets get a couple of runs right here. Chris Carter takes a strike. Carter started in right field in the opening game of the doubleheader, went 1 for 3. Sean Green up alongside Feliciano in the bullpen. And the breaking ball from McClendon misses 1-1. Reyes on deck. And Carter gets jammed and flies one out to right field. Corey Hart puts it away. And so Dickey will not get a win in his final start of the season. 1-0 Brewers after 7. Against lefty Chris Narveson. Coverage begins at 6:30 tomorrow night right here on SNY. G has been spectacular through his first 4 big league starts against Narveson, who's 11-9. For the 91st time this season for your viewing pleasure, Pedro Feliciano.
Well, Feliciano in the first game walked Gomez, then replaced and stole second base on Acosta, went to third and scored on that infield hit from Hart.
George Gutierrez dumps one into right field for a leadoff hit. And so the Brewers have the opening man on in the 8th inning against Pedro. And now the veteran Craig Counsell will bat for the first time in this series. Counsell at age 40, the Milwaukee native, says he wants to play next year, and it probably will involve him playing elsewhere. Sean Green up in the Mets bullpen with the right-hand hitters Weeks, Gomez, and Braun to follow behind Counsell.
It's probably been a couple of good years here for Counsell, though. If you're from Milwaukee and able to play for your hometown team, and then have to get the family. Although at 40 years old, usually the family stays put, and you go on your own to continue to play.
Counsell jumps out of the way as he was looking to bunt. Ricky Weeks to follow.
Well, this is a great opportunity if they're going to bunt Counsell to get the lead runner. Torres does not run that well. And Pedro Feliciano, we've seen for the past few seasons with the Mets, as good a fielding pitcher as the Mets have.
Pedro having trouble with his command here, pitching the second time in a single day.
Well, at this time of the season with a 2-1 count, why not hit and run here? Got the lead, 1-0.
Counsell really changed that batting stance, hasn't he?
Yeah.
No longer corkscrewing that bat over his head like he used to and making all the muscles bulge in his neck. Guess that's a concession to age.
There you go. That interesting to watch him taking that sign. It was almost incredulous. Are you asking me to bunt again on a 3-1 count? I guess they did.
Yes. That's ball 4. So the Brewers have the first 2 men on against Feliciano. Jerry Manuel on his way out to the mound to make a pitching change, with the right-hand hitters coming up. And so Sean Green will be coming into the game, and he'll face Ricky Weeks with 2 men on. So the Mets make a pitching change. We'll be right back. It's a huge game for San Diego. They can ill afford to lose any at this point. Sean Green comes in with 2 on and nobody out.
Sean pitched in the first game, came in to face Corey Hart after Ricky Weeks stole second base. He struck out Hart.
Weeks is 0 for 3 in this game, and he takes a strike. No hint of a bunt. With Gomez and Braun, 2 more right-hand hitters to follow. In that game in San Diego, Chris Young is making the start for the Padres, trying to make a September impact after missing most of the year.
Only problem you have with Young right now is they haven't really lengthened him out, so he's really right now at a 75 to 85 pitch pitcher.
Cubs have second and third and one out in the first inning of that game. Randy Wells set to pitch for Chicago tonight. Cubs have certainly put a crimp in the Padres' plans the last 2 days. First Zambrano and his performance in a 1-0 win, and then Soriano going off last night with a couple of home runs. And Weeks pops up the slider. Infield fly rule will be called. The batter is out, and so Weeks didn't bother running. Well, he was out. Took one step and stopped.
You always complain, Gary, that the guys don't know the rules.
He knew the rules. He knew he was out. And so, why bother?
I watched the Zambrano pitch against the Padres. That's the best I've ever seen him throw. And he's had some great seasons.
He's got, what,
he is back.
3 years left on his contract?
Yes, he does.
And huge money. And, well, maybe the Cubs are inclined to keep him now. Gomez up for the fourth time. Carlos is 3 for 3. Goes around on that half swing. 2 bunt singles for Gomez. One toward third and one toward first. Also has a single to right center. So a 3 for 3 night for the former Met. And Green quickly ahead 0-2. Ryan Braun waits on deck. Also underway, the Giants hosting the Diamondbacks. San Francisco starts the night with a 2-game lead on San Diego in the West and a magic number of 4. Stephen Drew has homered in the top of the first off Tim Lincecum to put the Diamondbacks up 1-0.
Lincecum pitching on 3 days rest because if they need him to pitch Sunday for a clincher or game 163 on Monday, he'll be ready.
Two to Gomez, and he struck him out with a slider. So Sean Green gets 2 quick outs.
Boy, Green has looked sharper the past few outings. That outing in Philadelphia came in and struck out a batter. Hart in the first game, and that good slider here to Gomez.
So 2 out and 2 on, and Ryan Braun coming up. We have further word on Nick Evans. We mentioned that he left with a shoulder injury. Turns out he hurt the shoulder while swinging the bat in the 4th inning. It's his left shoulder, lined out to center field in that at bat. And he's going to have an MRI tomorrow at the hospital for special surgery. Braun drives one to right center field. Long run for Feliciano. He can't get there. It goes all the way to the wall. Contreras scores. Counsell around third. He'll score. It's a 2-run double for Ryan Braun. And the Brewers have stretched their lead to 3-0. So Green got his first 2 hitters out but couldn't seal the deal.
Well, one of the reasons Braun is such a good RBI man is that he is not afraid to hit the ball where it's pitched. Has lots of power to right center. And able to get this ball out of the grasp of Jesus Feliciano.
44th double for Braun. He now has 102 runs batted in.
Just great swing. Takes that bat and gets it to the zone better than almost any right-hander you'll watch.
Now Prince Fielder will get the intentional walk, and the Mets will pitch to Casey McGee with 2 men on. So both the runs in this inning charged to Pedro Feliciano, as was the case in the first game of the doubleheader. He is charged with runs that a subsequent pitcher allowed to come home.
Although Pedro will have to say to himself, the walk to Counsell when he's trying to give you an out is where he missed.
So Fielder, who's 0 for 3 in this game, getting the intentional pass. And there's ball 4.
Well, Sean Green, when you're watching him pitch to any hitter, he's got to be on the knees or below. In our ILTV pitch differential, look at where Josh Tolley is putting the glove. That glove needs to be down. A target needs to be down. That pitch right there is where Green's ball will straighten out.
So now 2 out and 2 on for Casey McGee, who's 0 for 3 in this game and 1 for 9 in the series. Looking for his 100th RBI of the season. And the slider is a strike. Brewers now with 3 runs and 8 hits. On a night when R.A. Dickey was terrific, allowed us to run on 6 hits over 7 innings. He's on the short end. Braun and Fielder, the base runners with 2 out. And Green ahead on McGee, 1 and 2. Corey Hart would be next. Casey McGee, a latter-day Ty Wigginton.
That's right. He
remind you of Ty?
Absolutely. Built about the same, too, right?
Yeah, a guy like Ty from whom not much was expected. But he has had a terrific year, although he's befuddled there by Green. And he strikes out to end the inning. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Green, but 2 runs for the Brewers who go up 3-0. News in New York sports. Yeah, those are the same things we had in the first game. Reyes looking back at his season. Giants having some problems. You already knew that. Jets trying to find some defensive players to get healthy. Geico Sports Night tonight after the postgame at 1 a.m. right here on SMA. I just thought other stuff would have happened in the last 4 hours.
But aren't you supposed to have that kind of stuff in football, like Game 8, Game 9?
What's that?
No problems.
Oh, well, it's New York.
Okay. All right. Man.
Reyes is 1 for 3, 4 for 11 in this series. Mets have been limited to 3 hits in this second game. A bunt hit by Pagan in the first, and then back-to-back singles by Dickey and Reyes in the 5th. And that's it. Mike McClendon, working in relief of Dave Bush, retired the 3 batters he faced in the 7th, but he's behind Reyes 3-0 to start the 8th. With Pagan and Wright to follow. There's a strike, 3-1. So just to update you on all the injury news involving Mets outfielders today, Carlos Beltran had his MRI on his knee, and it showed just some inflammation, but the doctor says he shouldn't play the rest of the year, so he's going to sit for these last 4 or 5 days. 3-2 to Reyes, fouled away. Nick Evans hurt his shoulder swinging the bat in this game. He'll have an MRI tomorrow. Did I miss anything?
Nope, you got it. I think that's a good thing for the shutdown, Beltran. You know, information, it takes you a couple days to get the information out anyway.
Reyes pokes one to center, and he's got his second hit of the game. And let's get the leadoff man on in the bottom of the 8th. 5 hits in the doubleheader for Reyes. There's your Mass Mutual Mets box score. You see Reyes' 2 hits. You see Pagan's hit. You don't see Dickey's hit. You never see the starting pitchers hit in this late game box score.
Despite how great they've been this year, the starting pitchers and their hitting.
Dickey winds up the season hitting .255. Not too many pitchers get to do that. Here's Angel Pagan, who's 1 for 3. That bunt single back in the first, and he takes ball 1. Let's check in with Kevin. Hello, Kevin.
Yeah, Greg.
We'll get to Kevin in a second. Having a little trouble with his microphone.
He's got to talk to our producer Greg first. Then he'll come on.
Pulled past fielder and into right field, a base hit. Reyes pulls in at second, and the Mets have the first 2 men on. Now remember earlier in the game when Fielder was playing deep and he caught Pagan's line drive, this time holding the runner, and Pagan hit it by him.
Well, the second bullet, you can see by the defense tries to get off that bag, but only gets off 2 or 3 steps, and that ball really hit so hard, had no chance to react. Reyes had to slow up for the ball. That's why he could not go first and third.
David Wright coming up. Now we can check in with Kevin.
Sorry, Gary, I didn't hear you before there. You know, I asked Angel today if he thinks that, you know, next year home runs could be a little bit more of his game. And, you know, he said, you know, the one thing is I definitely want to try and improve in all areas, but I want to get stronger. When he said that, he didn't mean like, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger stronger. He said, I want to get stronger in my swing, do baseball-related activities, and get a stronger, more compact, more explosive type swing. So, you know, he said, I think if I do that, you know, the offense will get better overall, and I think home runs can come from that. But when you think of it, I mean, he's excelled in so many different areas. The 11 home runs this year, you wonder what can come of that, what kind of power he can develop. But he says he wants to focus on a more compact and explosive swing, and he thinks if he does, those homers can come.
I think he's capable of 20.
Yeah, I think that that's the best way to do it. Is always get strong in your wrists, your arms, your hands.
0-2 to David Wright with 2 men on. And it goes to the backstop, and that'll move the runners up. Barrisale unable to close that one down.
Guys, you know what I like what Angel said? He said, I'm still in a learning process. And I think that says a lot about him and you know where he feels he is and how much he feels he still needs to get better.
But you know what? If you're smart, you're always in a learning process.
Forever.
Wild pitch, 2 in scoring position. The infield back with the Brewers holding a 3-run lead. And Wright goes down swinging. And McClendon has the first down in the 8th. Cameron Lowe, the right-hander. Zach Braddock, the left-hander, up at the Brewers bullpen. And with Ike Davis coming up, Ken Maka's popping out of the dugout, and he wants his left-hander. So after McClendon goes an inning and a third in relief, he'll exit. And the rookie left-hander Braddock will replace him. 3-0 Brewers in the 8th. We'll be right back.
Bulldog, but last night he got it out and walked a hitter in his appearance against the Mets.
Reyes is at third, Pagan at second with one out. Ike Davis the tying run at the plate against Zach Braddock. Davis 0 for 2 and a walk. And Ike takes a light cut of the fastball, and it's 0-1. Another left-hand hitter, Lucas Duda, waiting on deck. That's with their 2 rookie left-handed power bats to try and get something done here in the 8th. Davis foul tips one, and it's 0-2.
You saw a little bit of it in the first game with Manny Power. They have some arms, this Milwaukee Brewers team.
However, they started the day 3rd from the bottom in the National League in staff ERA. Davis gets a piece of that one.
You see the defense. Infield is back, of course, with a 3-run lead. Outfield defense is extremely deep. Make sure no doubles here for Ike Davis.
Now the 0-2. And Davis pulls one to right, but Corey Hart is there to pick it off. Reyes tags at third. He'll come in to score. Pagan moves over to third. The Mets have their first run of this game. A sacrifice fly by Davis. And it's 3-1 Milwaukee.
Boy, nice that bat by Ike. Able to stay in there. Looked like he was overmatched in those first 2 pitches from Braddock. Stayed in the at bat, fouled off some tough pitches, and looked like he shortened his stroke a little bit on that. Able to get the good wood on the ball and almost get that ball over the head of Hart.
70 RBIs now for Davis. He's 4 shy of the Mets club record for rookies set by Darryl Strawberry. So now Lucas Duda with a runner at third and 2 out. Duda's 0 for 3 in this game, 2 for 10 in the series, including a home run last night. Duda just got out of the way. We're down at third with 2 out. Braddock with the 1-0, and misses high to Duda. 2-0. Jesus Feliciano would be next. Look over for the injured Nick Evans in the 6th inning. Now Duda with a 2-0 advantage. And it's 3-0. So Braddock having trouble throwing strikes to the left-hand hitter. Got another left-hand hitter on deck. .30, and there's a strike. 3-1. Raul Valdez, Isanori Takahashi, 2 lefties up in the Mets bullpen. Three and 1 to Duda. And he takes strike 2. Cameron Lowe observing.
Who pitched in the first game, but who didn't?
You and me. And Duda hits it out to left center field. Cutting across is Braun, and Gomez, and Braun makes the catch to retire the side. The Mets settle for 1 run on Davis' sacrifice fly. 3-1 Milwaukee after 8. Ninth inning, Corey Hart leads off against Sean Green. Milwaukee now with a 3-1 lead. It'll be Hart, then a pinch hitter, and Contreras up for the Brewers in the ninth. And the slider from Sean Green has him bailing out. 0-1. Hart is 1 for 3, had an infield single in the fourth inning. Joe Inglet has come out on deck to be a pinch hitter. There's Inglet, who got the start in left field last night when Ryan Braun had to be a late scratch.
Had that big 0-2 hit against Mike Pelfrey.
That last pitch by Sean Green, that pitch right there, that was the 565th pitch thrown in this doubleheader.
Sorry, Gary.
565. Can I ask you a question?
Do we know what the strike ball ratio was?
I don't. Something else I don't know. What do you think Keith's doing right now?
Keith?
Hart gets hit by the pitch. Sean Green, for a guy who hasn't pitched a lot this year, sure has hit a lot of batters. Leadoff base runner. Let's check in with Chris Carlin and Bobby Ojeda. See what's coming up on Lincoln Mercury postgame live. All right, thanks. Raul Valdez coming out of the bullpen for the second time today. We'll be right back. For the second time today, it's Raul Valdez out of the Mets bullpen.
Well, he pitched an inning and 2/3 of fine relief in that first ball game, when the Mets used 8 pitchers.
Only 4 so far in the second game.
Lazari Dickey went 7 innings.
Joe Inglet had been announced as the pinch hitter, but with the lefty brought in the game, Lorenzo Cain, Rosebud was his sled, will come up to bat with a runner at first and nobody out. Cain had 3 hits in the opening game of the doubleheader today and drove in a couple of runs. And Valdez throws a fastball for a strike. A Trevor Hoffman sighting in the Brewers bullpen. So perhaps he's going to get himself a save opportunity. Trevor, who recently picked up save number 600 of his career. The first and only man ever to do that.
Hasn't been much work for Trevor since the 600 save.
Well, Axford has been so good. We saw in the first game when he's getting that curveball over, almost unhittable.
Here's the 0-2 from Valdez. Struck him out with a fastball. So Valdez, 3 pitches, strikes out Lorenzo Cain. There's the first out here in the ninth.
Just all fastballs. This one a little up and away from Cain. Trying to go the other way, but a little tardy.
Blame it on Cain.
Usually see a fastball on an 0-2 count missed that much by Lorenzo, just underneath the bat.
Now George Gutierrez, who had a base hit against Feliciano to start the 2-run 8th inning for the Brewers. Just floated a single into right field and came home to score on Ryan Braun's 2-run double that opened up this game. One to Gutierrez with another left-hand hitter. Craig Counsell waiting on deck. The Brewers trying to sweep a doubleheader from the Mets after winning the opening game 8-7. Double play ball right to Reyes. Arias with the turn, 6-4-3 double play, and the inning is over. Nice job by Valdez to the bottom of the ninth, 3-1 Milwaukee.
Well, Trevor has a magic number of 600 saves, 9 for 13 in save opportunities this year, most of them early in the season. He started his career as an infielder in the Florida organization, then they changed him into one of the greatest savers of all time.
First pitch in the big leagues with the Marlins. It was traded to San Diego for Gary Sheffield. Jesus Feliciano will lead off at the bottom of the ninth. Feliciano walked in his only plate appearance in the 7th. R.A. Dickey went 7 strong innings today, but he's on the short end of a 3-1 score. Dickey allowed just 1 run over 7 innings. It'll be Feliciano, then Tolley and Arias for the Mets against Hoffman. So 2 rookies and a lightly used player against one of the veterans and icons of Major League Baseball over the last 2 decades. Hoffman not only has 600 saves, but he has probably spread more goodwill than any player of his generation.
Just an incredible class act, always has been.
Quite a family, too. His brother Glenn, who played for the Red Sox and managed the Dodgers.
I pitched against his brother.
You know, we were talking before about AAA and how it's players going up and players coming down and nobody wants to be there. You know, Glenn played for the Red Sox for half a dozen years as Feliciano grounds one out to short and Counsell takes care of him. And in mid-career, he was sent down because he was struggling one year. Wasn't an injury rehab. He was sent to the minor leagues. And I happened to be in Pawtucket, the games in Pawtucket at the time. Most players in that situation are not happy campers.
Yeah, they're bitter.
They don't treat people particularly well. Kind of understand why. Glenn Hoffman was as cool as you could possibly be, as polite, as understanding, and you know, you just understand what kind of family that is, and gain a lot of respect.
Hey, correct me if I'm wrong. I think that he also had to replace a very popular player in Rick Burleson, the shortstop, the rooster for the Red Sox, and that was difficult too.
Ole yanks one foul. It's a little strange, though, to have Trevor Hoffman come in a game and not here.
One of the great, I mean, probably one of the first relievers to come in where that became an entire act for the patrons.
Change up. That's his signature pitch, and it misses 1 and 2. About the only blemish on Trevor Hoffman's record is the fact that when he's been on the biggest stages, he's had his toughest moments. Yeah. World Series with San Diego in '98, the All-Star game, that 13th inning against the Rockies in that one-game playoff. That's the second out as Tolley flies out. The Mets are down to their last out.
He wasn't there that often. All-Star game, of course, every year, but he wasn't on the big stage that often. But never to come up with the goods. And who does? Who does all the time in those games? One guy.
One guy. And that's the biggest problem that Hoffman has in terms of his legacy. His generation. He overlapped with Mariano Rivera.
Everyone has problems with their closer except one team.
So 2 out and nobody on. Here's Arias, and he takes ball 1. Rivera, by the way, has 558 saves. He's 40 years old. I don't know if he's going to catch 600 or not.
Yeah.
Don't know what's going to happen with Mariano the next few years. How long can he keep performing at the rate that he's at?
He said he wants to play 2 or 3 more years, but you just never know.
Arias has flied out in all 3 of his at-bats in this game. And now the Mets are down to their final strike. Mike Espen is out on deck. He'll pinch hit if Arias can keep it going. Mets had 7 runs and 13 hits in the opener. That wasn't enough. 1 run and 5 hits in the nightcap. 1-2 to Arias. And he pops one foul. And hangs in there at a ball and 2 strikes. Now the 1-2. And Arias pops one up, shallow right center. Hart coming on, and he makes the sliding catch, and the ball game is over. And the Milwaukee Brewers have swept a doubleheader from the Mets. They won the opener 8-7, and with Trevor Hoffman providing the save for Dave Bush, they win the nightcap 3-1.
Well, tough luck for R.A. Dickey, who only gave up a run in 7 innings, 7 great innings. Just not enough against Trevor Hoffman and the Milwaukee Brewers today. Kenny Walker's got his team sweep the Mets this evening, and Mets playing out the string now.
Career save number 601 for Hoffman. The Mets suffered their 81st loss of the year, so that means they cannot have a winning season. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by IOTV. Get the best in HD free with IOTV.